I think I missed your name. If you don't mind, you can remind me your name because.
Okay, my name is Bridget Chepkurui.
Okay, sure. That's cool. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining tonight's meeting. And I don't know if I'm allowed to share my screen.
Okay, let me do so. You're good to go.
Okay. Oh yeah. Um, okay, I think I'm gonna share my entire screen. Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Ah, nice. Okay, all right. It's quite chilly where I am. Um, so please remind me if my voice start freezing. Yeah.
Okay, actually you're audible right now.
Okay, cool. All right. So we'll just get into it. I think I won't take lots of your time, I promise. Somebody of very little words. But then I hope to have an engaging session with us tonight, and I'm hoping to learn from you as you learn from me. And well, I hope it will be an interactive session. So tonight we are talking about crafting powerful pentest reports. And one of my favorite slogans in this case is behind every secure system lies a meticulous written penetration testing report. And so I'm not so sure of the audience that we have tonight, but I assume that apparently we could have entry level people that are getting into cybersecurity. We could be having professionals, and I know there may be students here too who are here to learn and all that, and so I'll try to cover all aspects as the time allows. So, hey, someone needs to mute his microphone. I don't know. Okay.
Apologies for that.
Okay, cool. Thanks. No problem. I don't know if my slides are moving. Okay, yeah, they're moving now. So, first, um, we must agree that um, writing reports as cybersecurity professionals, I find it as an underrated skill, or rather underappreciated skill that not many people give attention to, but this is a must-have skill. And sometimes you could be so skillful in the game, but if you do not know how to present the reports, then I think I mean I'd say, for the lack of a better word, you're doomed. But then penetration, or rather, let me call it PT reports, are the only product, are the only tangible product produced by a pen test. When you're given a task to do the pen test, it is the only tangible thing that you're gonna provide, and so you really must make it a killer stuff that everybody would get to understand. And so tonight, in the next few minutes, I'm just going to take us through how to communicate our findings to a diverse audience. And also, I want us to understand that these defense PT reports are done in a structured yet methodological format, which we all need to understand and ascribe to. And so, a great pentest report is very critical in communicating the high risk vulnerabilities. that you uncovered through the process, so the testing process you did. So it's a one document that should highlight the weaknesses in the in the organization security posture which you are working on, and it has to be communicated to everyone, both the technical and the non-technical. Okay, and so ladies and gentlemen, I think just as we dive into it, I'd say that again, I'll say that penetration testing reports are very crucial, and they communicate your findings, and not just findings, but also recommendations resulting from the security assessments you did. And so these reports, they serve as a roadmap for organizations to understand their security posture, prioritize their remediations or other mitigation strategies, and enhance their overall cybersecurity strategy. So you really have to be keen on how you communicate to them. And so how do you report your findings? How do you report your findings? Yes, you've done the you've done your exercise, you've done your task and all that, and of course we will also get to see how do you do this exercise and according to standards and all that. So first you have to be very you have to use a clear and a concise language, you know. So use a language that is um that is understandable to both technical and non-technical stakeholders. You have to really avoid the jargons whenever possible, because sometimes you are presenting this report to someone who's not in IT, you know, and especially the C-suite guys. Or rather the executives. Not all of them understand the jargons that you use, so you have to use a very clear and a concise language, you know. Second thing is you have to have a structured format. So you need to organize the report in a logical manner, you know, typically following standardized template to ensure consistency and ease of navigation. So in this case, if you are an independent security researcher, then you have to come up with your own template. But then if you're working for a company, most companies have their own templates. So you have to conform to that template and ensure that you are following it to the letter. Third thing is you at least use some visual aids. And visual aids here is what I mean is maybe you can utilize graphs, charts, do screenshots, evidence. I think we'll talk about that more in depth in the next slides. So you have to use these visual aids to just illustrate your findings and support your explanations. There's no way you're gonna tell somebody about a vulnerability and you're not really giving an evidence for that. Okay. So the fourth thing is about actionable recommendations. Sometimes we recommend and our recommendations are not even achievable. So you have to provide clear and actionable recommendations for addressing identified vulnerabilities and improving their overall security, you know. And so another thing is about risk prioritization. We'll talk about that again. So you have to prioritize your findings based on the how severe the vulnerability is and their potential impact on the organization. Okay. And so the sixth thing is about time delivery, where now you have to deliver the report promptly after the completion of the penetration testing engagement to ensure that findings are still relevant. Sometimes as pen test, you perform a pen test for an organization, and then you don't deliver the report timely. By the time you're delivering the report, they already even sorted some few fixes that needed to be done. So you have to like deliver it so promptly, yeah, so that you don't miss your season. And so just before we go a little bit on a higher note, is you have to understand that as a cybersecurity professional, we have we have to go by the methodologies and standards that are there. So we have the industry standards, which you need to adhere to. I mean, some of the standards are like OWASP. We have NIST. We have the Open Source Security Team Methodology Manual, and so many others. And so in this case, as a professional in the security, you have to adhere to the recognized industry standards as you do your reporting, as you do the exercise, so that you don't be you don't be thrown under the bus. Yeah. Another thing is we have the compliance requirements. So you have to ensure that your penetration testing methodology aligns with relevant compliance requirements, such as depending with the exercise you're doing, the PCI DSS, like Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, the GDPR, and many, 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 many others. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, I'll first take us through the pen test methodology. And after that, then we get into how should our reports look like. So as a pen test, and I believe I'm talking to people who are interested in pen testing, vulnerability assessment, and or maybe people who already need. So we need to really understand these are the basics, where before you do your pen test, you have to agree with your client which methodology are you going to do. So first, we have three, and I'll just go a little bit. I'll just give a sneak peek of it because I know there are maybe those the entry level people. So we have the black box testing, where now it simulates an attacker with no prior knowledge of the target system. And then we have the white box testing, where you assess the security of a system with full knowledge of its internal workings. And then now we have the gray box testing, which combines both black box and white box testing, providing a partial information to simulate an insider threat. So in this case, given an assignment, you need to agree with your client. Which one are you going to do? Like, is it a black box? Is it a white box? Is it a gray box? Okay. Yeah. And so before diving into it, there are things, or rather steps, that are very critical to your exercise, even before you get into reporting, of which I believe if done right, then the reporting would be so easier, for you to do. And so first is you have to number one is the scoping and the pre-engagement. This is where you have to define the success criteria, and you have to set the ground rules. Okay. So in this case, you have to discuss the scope, what does this entail and all that, who are the people engaged and all that, so that you know your boundaries. Okay. You know where to where to go and where not to go. This is very essential because some companies would say, okay, do all this, but don't touch here. When you are documenting, it is good as a pen test to also give that scope and mention the exclusions that maybe your client didn't want you to go to, so that you don't be blamed that apparently you didn't do a good job when maybe they are the ones who limited you. The second part is you have to do the reconnaissance and the vulnerability assessment. So in this case, you have to do the information gathering and discovery, agree on the device and OS enumeration, all the port scanning, the network sniffing. You have to do the vulnerability scanning, the social engineering. That is done at stage 2. Stage 3 now is the exploitation, where now we do the vulnerability verification, pivoting maybe through the system, elimination of false positives and false negatives. And then step 4 is organizing findings, where now you analyze and consolidate your findings. You categorize your findings according to the agreed standards, such as maybe the WASP, and all that. Okay. And then number 5 is now reporting. Now, you see, if you got it well at step 4, then step 5 won't be a hard thing. That's why I'm just mentioning. So on the reporting again, of course, we have the major aspects, which we'll be talking about them in the next slides. So we have the executive summary, the technical report, then the recommendation and remediations. And then the last step is now the validating, where you have to return to the you have to return to confirm the IT team's remediations and the eliminated risk, which sometimes it's optional depending with your kind of arrangement. Okay, so maybe before I go so far, because we want now to get into how does the content looks like and what are the nitty-gritties of how does it and all that. So before I get there, does anyone has a question? And what do you think, guys? Are you getting something, especially those who joined when I was already talking and all that? Can I get a feedback so far so good? You can type, you can talk.
Actually, our presentation has been an amazing one. I think anyone with any question that needs clarification, you can type or unmute.
Okay, thanks, Jeb. So you'll take note of the questions that are being asked so that, I mean, we don't miss on any. And so we'll continue for the purpose of time, or rather the interest of time, we'll just continue to the presentation. Okay. So how does the report look like? Sorry, I need to hide this. Okay. So you can still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So how does the report looks like? So the report has 6 things. Your executive summary, your methodology, your scope, your findings and analysis, your recommendations, your appendices. Now that is the general format, okay? But then I'll break it down because I just want to cover 2 things which are very mandatory: the executive summary and the vulnerability, or rather the vulnerability report, which is now the technical report. Okay, so any report would have the 6 things you're seeing on the screen. And so these 6 things are very critical. I mean, they're very critical. And the first thing is the executive summary. And the executive summary is this is the part where you need to explain for the executive of the company who will read the report, you know. So it needs to be a high level explanation with no technical details. Okay, so it's sometimes relevant to add graphs of the findings, like the vulnerabilities by impacts, attacks by type, and vulnerabilities by cause. But then know that most professionals, especially the executive, wouldn't go into the technical things. They don't have time for that. They just want to read the executive summary and see whether it captures all things. Like it captures all things that they need to understand. Okay, so you have to really get it right, because your executive summary should provide a sunk overview of the key findings and recommendations from the penetration testing engagement. So it should be tailored to the, I love to call them C-suites, but then how do you call them? The executive stakeholders who may not have technical expertise, but require a high-level understanding of the organization's security posture. Remember, these are the decision makers. So you need to tailor your executive summary in a way that they will understand that, hey, there's few things to be fixed and there's stuff that need their attention, and this would help them. I would help them pretty much. You have to have a methodology where you describe the approach, tools, and techniques used during the penetration testing engagement. Of course, I had mentioned about the scope. You have to clearly define the scope of the assessment, including the systems tested, any limitations or exclusions. Remember what I said? Some companies would not would give you limitations, and if you are not keen to document that, or rather, if you agreed with your client on certain exclusions or limitations, please document that in your report. Okay, and so another aspect, or rather content of the report, is the findings and analysis. So in this case, you have to present a detailed finding categorized by severity. We'll see how to go about that, along with an analysis of their potential impact on the organization. And then definitely you won't be showing people like, hey, this is your problem, and not tell them how to fix their problems, right? So you have to recommend. And in this case, you have to offer actionable recommendations for mitigating identified vulnerabilities and improving the overall security posture. And of course, the last thing, you have to include the additional supporting documentations, such as the raw scan results, the detailed exploit scripts, and references to other relevant industry standards. This is where you have even to give, the screenshots, and especially you have even to give a replication, a step of replication, so that the IT team in the company, if they'd want to try it out, so that they affirm what you're telling them, they be able to do that without any problems. So as I said, we've talked about the executive summary. So I'm just gonna take a minute and take us through the vulnerability. Okay, so in the vulnerability, this is the part where you present each vulnerability you found, and I recommend that you order them by by their severity, like how severe are they, and so we'll get to know, we'll get into that more in depth, but then we have to you have to order them in that case. So in this case, I want at the end of the session, at least you would have known how to write a good vulnerability report, and this covers the technical part. Okay, so in the vulnerability report, you have to do the severity, you have to do the CVSS scores, stroke the worst prescribed rating. Don't worry if you're hearing them for the first time, but I will all get to understand. You have to talk about the affected item, the description, the remediation, and the evidence. So before I go too far, does someone has a question? Okay, so the vulnerability report just details each identified vulnerability, including its severity, potential impact, remediation steps. So it may include technical details such as the common vulnerability and exposures, and the common vulnerability scoring system, what I was calling the CVSS. So what is CVSS? So this is just a sort of a calculator where you calculate how intense the vulnerability is. So this course takes in account some precise metrics to generate a score as close as possible to the impact of what the vulnerability could have. So in this case, depending on the context of your client, the impact might not be the same, so it depends with what does your client do, and how severe is this vulnerability to them. Okay, so there is this sort of a calculator, the rating that we use, where we have the low, the moderate, the elevated, the high, and the extreme. Those colors depict they depict them. So for instance, low is 1 to 3, which is a low risk of security controls being compromised with a measurable negative impact as a result. And then we have the moderate, which is just a moderate risk of security controls being compromised with the possibility of limited financial losses occurring as a result. And then we have the elevated. So the elevated risk of security control being compromised with the potential for material financial losses occurring as a result. And then we have high, the high risk of security controls being compromised with the potential for significant financial losses occurring as a result. And then we have the we have the extreme, and extreme. You can see the extreme is that color. I think it's red. Yeah, and so that means that the extreme risk of security controls being compromised with the possibility of catastrophic financial losses occurring as a result. So in this case, you have to, you have to clearly communicate how that risk is, okay? And so this report can be gotten, there's the pentest standard. If you just go to pentest-standard.org, you will find all these reports, and they it explains pretty well how you can go about calculating all this. And so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties of presenting all this, but then I don't mind mentioning, like, this is the security risk of origin, where whatever you present, for instance, the color, if you're going to do the a pie chart or any graphic presentation on this, those are the colors to use, and there is the statistics used. Sorry, someone was trying to call me. So for instance, there is that missing patch, as you can see the color. There is that lack of application or hardening, lack of OS or hardening, easily guessable credentials, network design flaw, and all that. So this is how you present your vulnerabilities in your report. Okay, so someone who's not from tech, if they just look at this, they'd be like, what? 29% missing patch, and so that would mean, like, that is one thing that they need to prioritize. Okay, yeah. So how does good report look like? How does good report look like? And so a good report, as you said, it has to be comprehensive yet understandable findings. It has to be actionable. You have to have the actionable recommendations. You have to clearly put the risk prioritizations well. And then we talked about timely delivery, and we've talked about compliance with industry standards and regulations. But then, ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be good to understand that there are a few things to having a good report, and these things, if followed, then you'll have to if followed pretty well, you'll have the best report ever. So the first thing I want us to understand, I know it's not in my slides, but I'll just kind of point it out again for the interest of time. So first, you have to understand your target. Understanding the target is so crucial. So it's essential to have a complete understanding of the target to explain vulnerabilities in the business terms. For instance, if you're doing a PT for a bank, then there's those terms, the business terms you'll use, which you may not use when you are doing a PT for a healthcare institution. Okay, so this way, once you've understood your target, you can explain complex technical issue in a way that the client can easily understand. Okay. Another tip for a good report would be have a clear and a detailed executive summary. I think I've really emphasized on that. But then to emphasize again is the executive summary is the first thing the customer will read. So therefore, it should be concise and highlight the most critical vulnerabilities and their potential impact in the customer's context. Okay, so what I mean by this is anyone should be able to understand it, and most of all, understand the impact it can have in the business terms. Okay. Another tip for a good report would be, like on the technical part, other people call it the vulnerability report. So I want you to understand that while the executive summary is essential, it's equally important to provide detailed technical information on each vulnerability identified. Okay, so to write a comprehensive report, it is necessary to explain each vulnerability in detail, including how to exploit it and its impact on the system or application. So it's very important also to have taken detailed notes and screenshots during the attack phase to make it more understandable. Okay, so we are always advised to put each vulnerability in the context of the system or application being tested. So when you do this, the impact of each of them has to be explained according to the context. Okay, yeah. So also again, you have to at least include the resources. Like it's important to provide links to good resources that explain the findings. Those links are usually inserted at the end of the vulnerability report. So it's recommended to add more than one link, and of course we have to understand that we may not understand things, or rather understand concepts the same way. And so having different links would really, would really help. And so another tip would be, you have to exercise the threat modeling strategy, where it's always good to have a great understanding of the target and its possible risks. So integrating it into your report can help your client understand the potential risks they are likely to face, and mentioning which of these scenarios were replicated and why it can really add value to your report. And so another thing is about remediation. So on the remediation, you have to again provide actionable mitigations, or other steps to the client to mitigate the identified vulnerability. Okay, so and please mark that if a solution is not applicable to a specific system for some reason, it might be a business related reason. So try to find a mitigation that fits your client's needs. Okay. So having said that, now we have a sneak peek of how a good report looks like. And so I'm going to come back to my technical report. And in this case, I think I've showed you how to display the vulnerabilities in terms of the CVSS score and the colors and all that. And so the next thing I want to talk about is just a second. Is okay. I think my screen has okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Hey, okay. Okay, so we're good. Just head off. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, sorry for that. We've talked about the CVSS score, how to present that. And so you have to when you talk about the affected, I mean, sorry, there's a spelling mistake on the affected item. When you talk about the affected item, you have to really give details about it, you know. And so on description, you have to explain the vulnerability and explain it in the context of your target, just what I said. So maybe I can give an example. For example, you could say, okay, what example can we use? Okay, for instance, we could say, like, in the context of a support page, we could say maybe some checks were made on the client side, but those checks could be bypassed. Okay, so giving examples like an example that someone who's not technical would understand is really good. So about remediations, again, we've said you have to explain how to mitigate the vulnerability, and it's always good to add resources from recognized industries like the WASP for those who are doing web pen testing and all that. Now, another thing as a pen tester, evidence. Evidence is key. So here you need to add proof of the vulnerability. I mean, the goal is that the team that will implement the mitigation is able to reproduce the attack. Okay, so sometimes as pen test, you just you just give a report, but you don't. I mean, you don't give an evidence and all that. So take for instance, you've been contacted by a certain firm to do a pen test. It would be quite vague if you will give if you'll give a report and not give them evidence, so that the internal teams, because every firm has a tech team, I suppose, the internal tech team wouldn't be able to reproduce your the attack. So the goal for giving evidences is that the team that will implement the mitigations are able to reproduce the attack, and that is why it is important that during the attacking phase, you write plenty of notes and take plenty of screens and proofs, you know. Personally, I prefer doing each, I prefer doing it at each, anytime I find a vulnerability, I do that and all that. So you can always do it your way. Yeah, so I don't know why my screen is hanging. Okay, there we go again. So ladies and gentlemen, so far so good. Those are the things of a good report. But how does a bad report look like? You know, how does a bad report look like? Maybe if we go through this, you may realize that maybe you've been writing a bad report or what. So sometimes I saw a meme. I like to look at memes, and I saw a meme that when the C-suite realizes that they paid a pen test quite a lot of money, but then the report they received was an ESOS report, you know. So there are aspects of a bad really reports, and I'll go through them so that we don't fall victims of it. So one disclaimer is that do not deliver a scanner report. You know what I mean by a scanner report? You did your exercise with whatever third party, maybe it was Nessus or what. Then so they give reports. So you just printed that PDF and and submitted that. No, do not do that. So bluntly copying of information from third party resources without attribution or credit to the original authors is wrong. It's quite uncouth, and it's not a good practice for a pen test. make your reports original. I mean, on them, give them a personal touch, and that would even define your branding, Yeah. Also, always verify results. Sometimes you just do stuff and you haven't verified your results, and you go ahead to include that in your report. And when you are questioned about it, you can't even defend that. So again, that would be an element of a bad report. Recommendations for each findings, where some of them just don't make sense and are not achievable. Sometimes as pen test, you want to recommend, you want to recommend for everything and all things. And so it would be, it would be good. It would be good for you to know that it's not everything. Not everything really needs our needs needs a recommendation. Okay, so look for those things that are achievable and that are really of impact to at your target, or rather to your client, and focus on that. Okay, and so another thing is, sometimes we have our executive summary. You find that it has too much of a boilerplate verbiage. You know what that means? Like, it's too vague. Like, it's too vague. It's too vague. Even somebody can't understand what you're saying and all that. So, as we've said again and again, your executive summary is the first impression. So most people would look at the executive summary and have the appetite to to dig deep. But then if you get it wrong at the executive summary, or you have a very wordy executive summary that doesn't really say a thing, then it may not be helpful, or rather it may throw you out. Okay, so another thing is writing penetration test findings, observations, without including evidence, or rather the replication steps. I think I say that you what you have to include and all that. So not having that would make your report really not of value. But a report of value would be a report that, if you tell us this is what is affecting us, we are able to see, oh, okay, so if you are submitting to my team, I'll be able to take my team onto task and be like, reproduce these attacks, see whether it is true, and let's think of mitigating it and all that. Another thing is not clearly defining methodology or process for applying severities to findings where severity seems arbitrary, So sometimes we, we don't define our processes, we don't define our methodology. So when someone reads your report, is even confused, like, how did you arrive at this? What informed you of this? And all that. So it's always good to clearly define the methodologies used, the standards used, and not just that, and even the processes, yeah, that would really be of help. So again, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, you have you have to really write killer reports, because that is the only tangible thing you are submitting to. You are submitting to the organization that has contracted you and all that. So not clearly defining things would really be something. So again, another thing would be lack of detail on detected vulnerabilities. Not giving details is also something that that would make your report look bad. And also maybe having an non-compliance with standards and best practices. When you give your report and we can't see any standards, any compliance in it, you're just telling us that. The client gets confused whether it is your personal view or it's an industry view, And so that that would be something. Okay, so having said that, there are many resources that you could find. There are many resources that you could find. Just give me a sec. I need to pick a delivery. Just a second. Sorry for that. I was picking a delivery. Yeah. So I think I've mentioned all things, and these are the resources that we you can visit those websites and get to see. But then before we wrap it up, I think I'll take you through this site. You can get samples of reports and all that. So again, just a second. I need to go to my browser. So you can just go to your browser and type pentestreports.com. Sorry, I forgot to share my screen again. Okay. Yeah, go to if you just go to this URL, pentestreports.com. So you'll be able to see lots of you can see the samples of pentest reports. If you just click samples of pentest reports, you can be able to see different reports that are posted publicly. And so feel free to check on any. For instance, you can see reports from Astra, Bishop Fox, Bytes Pen Testing, Background, Chase Cybersecurity, and all that. I mean, there's so plenty here. And so you can just pick on any that you feel like it resonates with what you're doing. For instance, let's try pick this. Okay. So you can always look at it. It has all things, as you can see, like their index, they have introduction, scope of assessment, classification of findings, and all that. You can download the report for your use if need be. And you can just view it online. Again, you can get templates here from different companies. So there's a template here by competitive cybersecurity organization. We have the 30xnet. We have another one from University of Phoenix. We have the that name, I can't even dare pronounce it. We have the 0-day template here. We have the I mean, so many templates. University of wherever. Then we have the offensives report here. And if you can author a template, you can always feel free to, send it to them, they review and post it here. Yeah. So, for instance, we could check out the 0-day. I don't know if my internet would, oh, good, behaved. That, we look at that, we look at that. Okay, cool. So, this is their template. As you can see, hmm. Okay. Yeah, so here is their template if you'd like to use it, and it gives you all that, the methodologies you are talking about, information gathering, how enumerations was done, the PT and all that. So for the interest of time, because we are really against the clock, I had planned myself to just be available between 8 and 9. Um, I think I'll share with us this. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so go to these websites and have fun looking at the templates, I mean the done reports that you can resonate with. And as we said, these reports, the templates are always different, like based on the companies. And if you are also a an independent security researcher, you can always come up with yours as far as it entails all the essentials that are needed. Okay, so for that, I think we are done. I will welcome questions. Sorry.
Wow, that was an amazing session. Actually, I wanted to ask regarding the penetration methodology. Is one allowed to follow a specific methodology, or one can choose which is good for him or her?
Sorry, I didn't get you clearly.
Okay, my question was regarding
Mm-hmm.
penetration methodology one should use. Should
Mm-hmm.
one follow like for Sibata, K-chain, or MITA, or is or is one free to choose any which he or she is comfortable with?
Yeah, you are free. Oh, about the yeah. I mean,
Methodology.
you are free to choose whatever works for you, and as long as you are within the matrix of the industry standards and compliance.
Wow. Once again, thank you for the amazing session. We've really learned a lot. I believe the session has been an amazing one for both the beginners and those with some level of knowledge in on writing reports on penetration testing. Once again, thank you.
Uh, Yeah, thanks so much for the invite. And I've personally had fun talking about reports, which I said in the beginning is a sort of underappreciated skill, but then is a mandatory skill in the field. And so I think you can all agree with me that writing effective penetration testing reports require a combination of both technical expertise, clear communication skills, and adherence to the industry standards. So by following all the established methodologies, structuring reports properly, and delivering actionable recommendations, organizations can leverage on pen tests to enhance their security posture and mitigate, the potential threats and vulnerabilities. So as you can see, I'm always of the idea that in the world of cybersecurity, a quality penetration testing report isn't just a document, okay? And so it's a strategic asset, a roadmap to fortifying defenses, and a shield against looming threats. So as you embark on your crafting your next killer pentest report, I mean, weld your words with precision, prioritize clarity over complexity, and let your insights illuminate the path to a more secure tomorrow. Because in the end, it's not just um, it's not just yeah, just a second. Yeah, because in the end, it's not just about finding vulnerability. It's also about empowering organizations to thrive in an ever-evolving digital landscape. Um, Someone said, or rather, one of the people in cybersecurity said that clients typically skim through attack narratives in penetration test reports. So a good penetration report is concise, easy to read for the client. Always remember that. And I think that would be my last word. That you are from your pen test. Don't just be a pen test without the pen text skill. So there is the pen test and the pen text. The pen text is when you can now put your pen test into text and communicate to a wider, or rather a diverse audience. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll appreciate if any one of you has another comment or a question before we call it a day.
Yes, good evening.
Good
This
evening.
is Sydney from Uganda.
Hey,
Just want to
Sydney.
say thank you so much, Clarian, for the detailed presentation. I must say I've really learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Sydney, even for joining from Uganda. And I hope you pass this gospel of writing quality pen test reports to Ugandans there and to everybody in your sphere of influence. Thank you so much, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Evening.
Yeah, so I'm Cleophas, and I also wanted to appreciate the time that you took to take us through this important point of pen test. And maybe one question, I a bit came in later. I don't know if you covered it at the beginning, and it was in relation to how best we can craft our reports to suit both the technical team and also the C-suite. How could you maybe deal with that so that when the report goes to the team, both the technical team and also the C-suite, like the executive team, can be able to best relate with the report?
Okay, thanks so much, Cleophas. So I think we mentioned that in the beginning of our of the presentation tonight, and I really emphasized on the executive summary and the technical part. And
Okay.
so we said, I think maybe I can share a link to this presentation with everybody who'd want to maybe have a look, or rather um, for reference or learning.
Yes, yes, that would be good.
Yeah, I'll share that. But then just a recap of it, Kibet, is that you have to use a clear and concise language where, I mean, avoid jargons whenever. Just ensure that your language is understandable to both technical and non-technical stakeholders. But again, I mentioned, I think in the middle of presentation, that you have to understand your target so much that you use their business terms, because people are able to they are able to resonate with what they are doing. Okay. Yeah. So another thing we said, always follow a structured format. So we have I mean, if you organize your report in a logical manner, typically following the standardized template to ensure consistency and ease of navigation, that would be really would be pretty easy for anybody, whether technical or non-technical, to navigate your report and understand. And so I don't want to give a whole lot of the of our conversation tonight, but I think maybe I'll share the slides for your future reference and all that. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, so any other person?
Sorry, how again are we maybe going to get the link to the slides?
Okay. The link to the slides. I don't know, Tep, do you want to answer that, or should I?
Okay, we share the link with them.
So I'll send it to you, then you can share with everyone.
Yeah.
Sure, perfect. That's a good one. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Back to you, Chip. Maybe you can take us home now.
Okay, once again, thank you for the amazing session. Really learned a lot, and we're looking forward to having you next time. Thank you so much. I think if there is no other question, I think we can call it a day. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope we get to have an episode 2 of this. I really enjoyed hanging out with you tonight. Bye.